Bertie, my favourite thing about Overwatch right now, my favourite thing to do in this video game is that, you know when you get a bit of a kill streak?
Yeah, well, occasionally.
You get 2, maybe 3 kills, and you see like some pretty high point scores, and you think you might get play of the game. My favourite thing to do is then to tag a wall with a spray paint, so that in the play of the game that everyone has to watch at the very end, it shows that you knew all along that you'd had the best moment in that match of Overwatch, and it puts the biggest smile on my face.
So you did this yesterday, I should point out.
Yeah.
Chris got some play of the games yesterday, I think 3 in a row, and you managed to spray. It was the default spray, so it kind of lost the edge a little bit. You need a proper custom spray in there. I wonder though, some people are really good at this. They obviously are used to getting play of the game, and they know how to do. They hit their emote as well, and they also do the spray. But I wonder how many people throughout the course of the game are doing this, but they don't get seen because they don't do play of the game. How many people have sprayed?
I've definitely done more than have actually made into the play of the game. But yeah, it's just such a fun video game. I've had that's the one word I keep coming back to with Overwatch. That Blizzard, they may not have reinvented the genre here. It's an arena shooter. It's heavily inspired by Team Fortress 2 and also a bunch of shooters from the 90s. But they've just made it incredibly fun. The character designs, the way the abilities work, the way it feels to use those abilities is joyful.
What's so nice is that there are so many kind of mini games within a game. There's the strategy element, just route planning, you know, which way is your team going to go. There's team composition, which can change throughout the course of the game. You might get stuck at certain choke points. Sometimes games go by in a flash. Sometimes games really go to the wire. And it always leaves you thinking about what can I do differently next time, what worked, beyond just player skill.
I said this in the written review itself, that I was wary of making too many comparisons to MOBAs, because I don't think they're all, I think that word's being thrown around a little bit too much with this game. But that aspect of it in particular, that feeling that you can always get better, that you're always learning stuff, and the fact that there is that added layer of strategy with picking teams, and that you might not be the best team, but you might have made smarter hero selections. All of that stuff reminds me of why I fell head over heels in love with Dota 2. It's got a lot of the same stuff there, and you and I have played this game pretty consistently since the closed beta first started, and we almost every day share GIFs on our Slack that show a new some new weird shortcut that someone's found, or a new way to use an ability. The fact that Genji can deflect Hanzo's ultimate ability if he hits the arrow, and there's so many of these secrets to uncover. It feels like in this game, so many ways to get better.
Which is how it kind of waters down the feeling of disappointment when you're killed, because if you're killed in a spectacular way, sometimes you just mess up.
Yeah.
And that can be quite funny. You're like, oh, I've just completely done the wrong thing. I've jumped off the ledge or something and I'm dead. But other times, someone kills you with a great piece of skill and you think, I don't mind dying because that was great and I've learnt something. And you run back and you try something different.
Yeah, and you can do that by sometimes switching to a new hero, because Overwatch lets you switch heroes whenever you go back to your spawn point, but generally speaking, you're only ever going to do that when you've died, with a few exceptions here and there. And I think it's really useful to let players do that, because if you are getting steamrolled by the other team, it's nice to feel not trapped within that. You always feel like, oh well, there's a clear counter to that character that just killed me. That was if that was a Hanzo or a Widowmaker, sure, they're really good at long range, but if I can flank them with a Tracer and get really close, then I win that engagement.
Or with a Winston.
Or the Winston.
Good flanker.
Yeah, you leap in, use a shield, they don't know how to deal with that. And I really like that, way more than I thought I actually would. I thought the hero switching, when I first started playing, was just a strange idea. You can have 5 people playing the same character on a single team, and then they can suddenly switch to something else, and their composition keeps changing, and surely that's confusing to keep up with if you're within that game. But it ends up being probably my favourite thing about Overwatch. The fact that you can at any point completely change up what you're doing, completely go for a different play style, completely try and counter whatever the other team is up to.
I can't wait to see, now that there are so many people playing it and so many people who are so good and well rehearsed at games like this, that they have 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4 team compositions that they're used to playing as, and that their leader or whoever calls out a different one midway through the game, and they change. I can't wait to see that, and the other team just go, whoa, what just happened?
Right?
You start with a different one, if something's not working, change, and that well-oiled machine, I can't wait to see people play like that.
And you only need, like, because of the way these games, there isn't a team deathmatch. All the game types are objective-based. Actually, there's only really 4 different types of games, and they're all variations of like the Team Fortress payload or like a more general kind of domination thing. And you only need one surprising moment, one sudden change in focus from your team to push an objective and have a huge impact on the game. And so those switches can be massive. And it will be a lot of fun to see how a pro community forms around this. Like, what is the metagame like for Overwatch in 6 months' time? Do people do that? Do people like have team comps that they know they can switch between?
There must be accepted team compositions. I hope that Blizzard will do as much as it can to keep varying that. I mean, it obviously knows about metas more than most companies, from running Warcraft for so long, from running Hearthstone for a while now. So I hope it keeps that mixed up, because one thing that I love about all these kind of new games is the discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not so thrilled when the discovery is known and people are just running with builds or compositions that they found online and they're going with it. It just feels a bit like, oh, we need to change this up.
And from what we saw in the beta, that's exactly what they were doing. Every patch, with the exception of perhaps Bastion, who saw a real big change with his shield being removed, there was lots of...
Bastion used to be stronger.
I know, right? That's crazy. And at the moment, everyone thinks he's really overpowered again, but I don't think he is. Well, I think it all works out once you start switching heroes. But yeah, they were always tweaking ability numbers, tweaking the hit points of the various characters, and I don't think that ever stops, because there isn't a perfect... When I went to visit League of Legends earlier in the year, Riot, who make League of Legends, they patch their game every 2 weeks because they have to. They have to keep responding to whatever the new thing is that the players are starting to focus on. And I trust the Overwatch team to do something similar. Like, have you seen the way they talk to their community has been really, really impressive. And I think when you review a game like this, a game that isn't just, sure you purchase it and it's like full price on the consoles, and sure it looks like a normal shooter, but it's multiplayer only. It wants to have a community that lasts for years, that keeps coming back, it keeps buying cosmetics, and you only do that by making it fresh, by keeping it fluid and responding to whatever your players are doing. And they seem to get that. Everything they've said, every developer diary they've done with lovely Jeff Kaplan, they talk about these things. They talk openly with their community. They know what the community seems to have issues with.
Yeah, so far. My worry is that now Overwatch is, we don't know yet, but assuming Overwatch is a big hit, that in a similar way to, for instance, Blizzard was a different company when Warcraft was first to hit. But my worry is that the communication will dry up a little bit. The communication was large when they were in closed beta and open beta, because they're still making the game. They need to have that discussion.
And it felt like testing as much as,
It's a bit more experimental, and I wonder now it's a released big product. And I hope it doesn't, because at the moment it's really nice.
And one of the best parts of being part of the Overwatch community is knowing what the developers are up to. And I'm hopeful, not just because of what they've done so far, but also because of what they have to do in terms of introducing new heroes and new maps, which are both going to...
They are in the works, by the way. Jeff Kaplan said in a live Facebook interview, they are working on new heroes, they are working on new maps. That rank mode...
that's next month, at the end of this month. So hopefully those discussions keep happening, because they sound like they have to. And I'm excited to be part of that. I've really been looking for a game that I can fall into and get and lose my mind over patch notes and read absolutely every little scrap of information that comes out before the announcement of a new character. And this this feels like the one for me.
But this is the thing, you know, we talk about metas, and there will be pro teams, presumably, or very well-organised teams, and hopefully they will go and compete amongst themselves and won't have too much impact on, you know, the people playing for fun. And when you boil it down, what's so nice about Overwatch is that the core gameplay, the core experience is just fun. Blizzard make great toys that are great fun to play with. Sure. And all of their characters have that feel. And I would suggest to everyone as well when playing, and I got stuck in a bit of a support rut where I felt like I was most useful to my team in a support role. And I would suggest to everyone, A, play support and help your support characters, you bastards. But B, play every character. Yep. Don't get stuck as a flanker. Don't get stuck as, you know, Reinhardt and the tanks, although Zarya is a really good tank. Big love for Zarya. Don't get stuck as support. Try everyone, because in trying everyone, you'll get better at the game anyway.
Yep, and it means that you can keep changing your playstyle even within the same game. And yeah, that continues to be the thing that separates Overwatch from its competition for me. Like, I know you can do that in Team Fortress 2, but you don't have 21 different heroes, 21 such completely different heroes in that game. And yeah, the Overwatch offers that, and yeah, I just can't stop smiling whilst I play it. It's just completely won me over, 100%. And it's why I gave it a Eurogamer Essential, I guess, because it makes me smile.
Yeah, it does me too, and I think about it all sorts of odd hours. I think, oh, maybe I'll try that next time, maybe I'll try that, and then I see some play of the games and I think, why didn't I think of that? Did
you know that if Hanzo shoots his arrow up into the air, it takes exactly 5 seconds for it to land on the floor, which means you can set up a trap? Think about it. Think what you could do with that information.
I'm more likely to fire that, forget, hit myself and die as the team comes running towards me.
Let's start with something relatively straightforward. Hearing an enemy Thera leap into the air and shout "Justice reigns from above." If you played Overwatch, you'll know that's an important line. It's a bad thing that's about to happen because that is her ultimate ability. It's very powerful, and you hear that. You even hear the word justice, and you're already running for cover or reacting and trying to take her out before she decimates your team. You probably don't give a lot of thought to that line because it's something you react to subconsciously, instinctively, and that's great. But even within that scenario, there are a couple of smart ideas at play. The Overwatch team at some point talked about adding a variety of lines for Thera to use as she activates that ability, perhaps to flesh out the character a little, but in the end decided no, consistency is way more important here. The players need to be able to associate that one single line with that one single ultimate. The moment they hear the word justice, they need to know exactly what's about to happen. The one exception to this rule, however, is when a Thera on your team uses her ultimate. When that happens, the enemy players will still hear the big "Justice reigns from above" line, but you won't. You'll hear this instead. Rocket barrage incoming! And this, in turn, prevents any confusion as to whether or not you're in danger, while still letting you know